Hi, my name is Lisa Gardner, and I'm here to help you to understand your DISC report better. DISC is an assessment tool that has a long history in its development and research, going back over 100 years. Most people find that it has strong accuracy. Let's see what you think. So this is a two-part video. Part one explains about the 4 different behavior styles. Part 2 will go over your report. So while you don't need your report for this part 1, it might be helpful to have on hand. So let's look. DISC helps you to increase self-awareness, awareness of others, and awareness of how you can understand and communicate better with others. DISC measures how we do things, specifically observable behaviors. Observing behaviors of those around you enables you to immediately begin to learn something about everyone you meet. DISC provides a simple framework for understanding these behaviors and their strengths. So today, you're going to learn about 4 different behavior styles. Each of these styles brings a particular value to the world. And when you understand your own style and then identify the value of someone else's style, it allows you to stop measuring others by your own way of doing things. When we measure others by our way of doing things, we tend to become judgmental and frustrated with them. The better you understand each of the styles and their strengths, the more you can create opportunities for your relationships at work and even at home to be successful. So if you have your report, you've noticed that in the bottom right-hand corner, starting on page 4, there are 2 graphs with 4 colored bars on each graph. Each colored bar represents a scale of that particular style. I'll go over in part 2 what the difference is between the graphs. For now, let's just look at the types. So we're each a unique mixture of these 4 scales that you see on the slide. Our unique combination can set us apart, but the similarities that we do have are enough to help us gain insight and understanding to help teams and organizations to improve communication, reduce anxiety, increase trust, and build connections. All right, let's start looking at the styles. So before we start, I really want to emphasize that having a high or a low scale in a particular area is not important until we look at what your job or life asks of you. Keep this in mind as we go along. So we'll begin with the D in DISC. D stands for the behavior of dominance and looks at how people work with problems and challenges. So people who score high in dominance, 60 to 100, tend to be very direct, aggressive, and impatient when addressing problems and challenges. People high in dominance tend to be fast decision makers and very goal-oriented. If you scored somewhere in the middle, 40 to 60, it means that you have some adaptability in this style. And if you scored low in dominance, you will likely be more patient, deliberate, cautious, and cooperative when responding to problems or challenges. Which is better, high or low? It really depends on the nature of the problem or the challenge. All right, let's look at their value to the team and what we call overextensions in this style. People high in this behavior are comfortable with authority, really happy with challenging assignments. They're forward-looking and competitive. They seek problems to solve and are driven towards results. You'll often find people strong in dominance as CEOs, entrepreneurs like you, leaders in the world, and some of them successful and some of them less well-liked. In their overextensions, they'll often set standards that are too high for people to meet. They can be really impatient, argumentative, poor listeners, and because they are so strongly goal-oriented and not people-oriented, they'll often lack diplomacy and tact. All right, communication do's and don'ts. So pay attention to this part in each of the styles. It will be some of the most useful advice when it comes to getting the most out of other people. Many people find that getting along with the high D can be challenging. Here are some tips to help out. Remember, high Ds are results oriented. They usually don't care about the details, they just want to get the job done. And with that in mind, be as clear, specific, and brief as possible. Stick to business and remember to be results oriented in your communication. They do not like it when you talk about non-essential details. If you appear disorganized, when you're wordy or ramble on, and they really don't like being told to not worry or just relax. So if you did score high in this style, how accurate does all of this feel for you? And if you didn't score high in this behavior, think about people you know in your life. Who is a high dominance? All right. The I in DISC stands for the behavior of influence, and this area addresses people and contacts. Some people influence others through building positive, trusting relationships, asking for support based on the strength of their relationships and their ability to share a compelling vision. So these people will score high in influence, 60 to 100. People high in influence tend to be fast decision makers, like the high dominance, and they respond quickly and easily in relationships. Different than the dominance behavior, they are more people-oriented as opposed to goal-oriented. If you scored somewhere in the middle, 40 to 60, it means, again, that you have some adaptability in this style. If you scored low, 0 to 40, you will tend to influence others more through data, facts, and careful analysis. So again, high or low, which is better? It all depends on the nature of the situation with people and contacts. All right, your value to the team. People high in this behavior enjoy convincing people of ideas. They're really good at bringing the team together. They like to advocate for new ideas. They promote the team, and they can see the big picture and communicate it well. You will usually find people that are strong in influence in marketing, sales, any job that requires extroversion. In their overextensions, they will often talk, talk, talk. They can often be disorganized in paperwork and people pleasers. One problem about the high I's is that they can be unrealistic about deadlines and how long something will take, and possibly lack focus in their work life. Communication do's and don'ts. High I's are generally easy to get along with because they're people-oriented. You will get the most out of a high I if you can bring more warmth and friendliness to your conversations. Create time for socialization. And if there are any important details, don't share them verbally, write them down. High I's do not like it when people are curt, cold, or tight-lipped. And if you don't allow time for them to discuss their ideas, and if you only focus on facts and figures, they really struggle. So if you scored high in this area, how accurate does this feel for you? And if you didn't, think about people you know in your life. Who is high in influence? S in DISC stands for the behavior of steadiness. This area addresses pace and consistency. So some people prefer a steady, predictable, and consistent work environment. These people will score high in steadiness, 60 to 100. People high in steadiness tend to be more deliberate decision makers and people-oriented. They often think of something to say after the moment has passed when they're in social relationships. If you scored somewhere in the middle here, 40 to 60, it means you have more flexibility in this style. And if you'd scored low, you most likely prefer variety and spontaneity in your work environment. You're probably good at juggling a lot of tasks at once. People high in this behavior add stability to a team. They will often be your loyal workers with longevity. They perform very well in team environments. They like to comfort others, and they show a great deal of patience. They can be very good listeners and conform to established procedures well. You'll often find people strong in steadiness in the human resources, helping professions, healthcare, and jobs that are repetitive in nature. In their overextensions, they may hang on too long, meaning they'll repeat things too much in conversation to make sure you get it. They may stay too long at a job when they should have left, and same thing in relationships. They are risk averse and they'll often hesitate to speak up. They can be procrastinators and tend to take on the problems of others. So when you're with a high S, what are communication do's and don'ts? Well, in general, high Cs tend to be easy to get along with because of their people orientation and because they tend to accommodate to those around them. But they work best when they are not pressured. This is like one of the most important things to remember about the high S's. You will get the most out of them if you can present your case with a calm voice. Give them time to respond. They tend to be more thoughtful and deliberate and come up with their best ideas and the results that you want if you give them time to respond. If you need an answer immediately, well, it'd be better if you let them know ahead of time to give them some warning so they can think through it. They do not like it when people rush them or are domineering or demanding or force them to respond quickly. So if you scored high in this, does this feel like you? And if you didn't, think about people you know in your life. Who is high in the behavior of steadiness? The C in DISC stands for compliance. This area addresses procedures and constraints. Some people prefer a clear set of rules and procedures in completing their work. These people will score high, 60 to 100. People high in compliance tend to be deliberate decision makers, similar to the high S's, but they are also goal-oriented like the high Ds. If you scored somewhere in the middle, 40 to 60, it means you have more adaptability in this style. And if you scored low, you prefer more freedom from rules and procedures when completing your work. So what is the value of the high C? People in this behavior use data and research to problem solve. They operate in a very self-disciplined manner. They're very accurate and precise. They use facts to support their opinions. They love finding the right way to proceed that is evidence-based. You'll often find people strong in compliance in IT, accounting, scientists, and researchers whose success depends on following procedures and rules exactly. In their overextensions, they tend to be perfectionists. They fear criticism of their work because they followed the rules. They did everything the way they were supposed to. They can be nitpicky and overanalyze, sometimes getting stuck in analysis paralysis. They'll often be self-questioning, like, did I follow all the steps? Did I do everything in my power to ensure success? When communicating with a high C, one of the things that's important is to, similar to the high S's, don't pressure them. They depend a great deal on facts and evidence to back up what they say. So if you want to communicate well with them, prepare what you have to say in advance. Stick to business, be accurate and realistic. If you disagree, disagree with the facts. This is often why they're so sensitive to criticism, because in their mind, they did everything right and they followed the procedure. They tend to be very uncomfortable when people are casual, loud, or giddy around them. They don't like it when people are unrealistic with deadlines or are disorganized. Similar to high S's, don't press them for immediate decisions. If you scored high in this, does this feel like you? And if you didn't, think about people you know in your life who is a high compliance. All right, how to identify styles quickly. So when you're thinking about how to identify, you want to ask two questions. You want to ask, are they a fast thinker? Are they more of a deliberate decision maker? If you're a fast decision maker, you're going to be a high D or a high I. If you're more deliberate in your decision making, high compliance, high steadiness. You also want to ask, are they task or people oriented? If you're task oriented, you're going to be high C or high D. If you're more people oriented, high S or high I. Now, one of the things we want to know is that behavioral styles can blend. So, you may have two that you tend to be strong in. And this is a great wheel that just shows why we need all of these behavioral styles in our life. So you can see here, if you're a high blue and red, all about getting results, you will drive and implement your idea. Just keep looking around this and just see how we need each and every one of these in our business. You don't want to have everyone who's just like you because you're going to miss some of the other important factors that the other styles bring. So I hope this helps you to think differently about your style and the styles of people around you. Good luck in all of your future communication.